Hi, how's it going? My name is Grant, and I'm going to be reviewing your track Many Men on behalf of TLG Academy. So, just a little about myself before we get started. I've been a music producer for the better part of 10 years. I've worked with artists like Natasha Bedingfield, Todd Clark, The Dirty Teas. I've had releases on Interscope, Polydor Island, and Eskimo Recordings. And right now, I work with artists like Lillian Wild, Texas King, and many others. So, the way we evaluate these submissions is we're breaking them down out of a score of 100 and looking at 5 different subcategories. So, there's the arrangement, the mix, vocal score, originality, and the it factor. So you got a 73 on this. I think there's some good parts of this track. I think this is really creative in a lot of ways. I like your vocal tone, and I think the beat goes hard. I just have a few notes regarding the engineering of this and how you can fix some of the effects and hone in on these ideas a little bit more. So I've taken a few notes. Let's have a live listen, and I'll give you some more specific feedback.
I'ma kill all you niggas. All you niggas. You die. Come on, nigga. Come on. Yes, yes,
Mama told me, boy, when I raise you, I ain't raised no punk. Mama told me, if a nigga come with the motherfucker, better go dump. Leave a nigga slump. Leave a nigga dead in the trunk. Mama told me, cause you from the trenches, and I raised my boy relentless. Mama told me, if a nigga chop play, nigga.
So a couple things right off the bat. So it sounds like your vocals are a little too quiet. I think they could be brought up in level a little bit, especially compared to the background vocals, which sounds like are overtaking your vocals in some instances. So I think just bringing up your vocals by like a decibel or so would help with that. Another thing is that it feels like the intro in this is just too long. I think, 5-10 seconds of that would be fine. I don't think it's like 37 seconds or something like that. It's just a little too long. If I heard that for 37 seconds, like that just came on Spotify playlist, I would skip ahead. It's just a little too long, and I think you can get the point across with 5-10 seconds of that.
Nigga better go get the K in space. Mama told me, leave a nigga dead in his place. Leave a nigga dead, spray him in his face. Mama told me, I ain't about to play with these niggas, cause these niggas are some motherfucking hoe ass niggas. Play with these niggas, cause these niggas just some motherfucking hoe ass niggas. Daddy was a punk, daddy was a punk. Raised in the swamp, little nigga, I was raised in the swamp. Nigga wanna play, better go ahead, go get the motherfucking pump. Shoot him in the face, shoot him in the waist, nigga better don't. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. If a nigga play, better go get the K, better don't. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. I'ma go hard, motherfucker. I'm an 8-time stomp. If I go spray in the K, I bet you this got the like raw chest. I pop a Adderall, ayy.
So I think the reverb in this particular section here is a little too intense. It sounds very, very flooded. I would dial that back a little bit and not have it so intense when it comes in. I think in addition to this, the delays are also a little bit too intense in this. There's a lot of delay happening in certain parts, and this reverb is also very intense. So I think pulling back your effects is going to be a good call in this track overall. So there's one way of doing this that's going to, in my opinion, it's the crucial thing to do with reverbs and delays, and it really helps in your mix. So that's called busing your effects or creating a send. This is when you create a separate auxiliary track and you put your effects on that. So you create a separate auxiliary track in this instance and put a reverb on that. And then you would send some of the signal from your vocal track to that reverb. That's why it's called a send. I would recommend looking up a YouTube tutorial on how to do this properly with whatever you're using to record vocals. But this is something that's very useful for honing in on effects and making them not super flooded. is bussing. So that's really good for delay and really good for reverbs, and I think it would be super helpful in this.
So you know my aim and focus. Put the little ski mask on. I hope these niggas don't notice. If I go spraying my K, I bet you they scatter like raw chest. Nina said she want a burger. Get a bitch some application, told her better get to working. Only thing I know for certain, I ain't got no bread and my motherfucking pockets hurting. I was raised in gangland. Only thing nigga tagging with spray cans. Niggas can't afford Cartier, so you know a nigga gon' wear Ray-Bans. If you see me coming through, best believe that gon' go. I would shoot your mama too. After I kill that bitch, I'ma act bitch, who is you? I was in the trenches, my nigga, I know the rules. I was pimping women, my nigga, and Baton Rouge. I was selling women, my nigga, I pay my dues. I was living large, just check me up on the news. Daddy was a punk, daddy was a punk. Raised in the swamp, little nigga, I was raised in the swamp. Nigga wanna play, better go ahead, go get the motherfucking pump. Shoot him in the face, shoot him in the waist, nigga, better don't. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. If a nigga play, better go.
So I think you could do something to make one of these parts a little bit more catchy. Maybe it's like introducing a bit more repetition or having more of a melody, but I think overall in this track, there has to be more of a focus for your hook or a lead kind of idea. It feels to me like there's a lot of good ideas that are happening here. It's just there needs to be a more of a focus or a central idea that's sort of carrying this track and giving it some room to breathe.
Get the K, better don't. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. It's a dead nigga in the trunk. I'ma go hard, motherfucker. I'm an 8-time stomp. If I go spraying the K, I bet you they scatter like raw chest. I pop a Adderall A, so you know my aim and focus. Put the little ski mask on. I hope these niggas don't notice. If I go spraying my K, I bet you they scatter like raw chest.
So I think this is a little too long. I would suggest cutting this down by like maybe a minute or so. And part of that could be just cutting out the intro or a section of the intro. But I think just, honing in on this arrangement a little bit and cutting it down would be a good call. Probably having it be like 2 minutes and 30 seconds or 2 minutes and 45 seconds. But overall, I really like the creative direction of this track. I particularly like your ad libs and the laughing and stuff in the background. I think that kind of thing is super creative. And I think, pretty well written, and this track goes pretty hard as well. So I just have a few notes, just like recap on what I said. So I think, like I said, the intro is a little bit too long. I would cut back on that a bit, and maybe take away like 30 seconds of it, in my opinion, or like 25 seconds. I think the vocals need to be a little bit louder. Overall, your lead vocals need to be a bit louder. The background vocals need to come down a little bit. So I think there's too many effects on this, particularly the reverb and the delay. I think you could pull back those effects a bit and do something called bussing. So I'd recommend watching a YouTube tutorial on how to do that. And I think this track could use a bit more of a central focus or a hook, something with a bit more repetition or something to condense this track a little bit more. And also, I think the track is too long, but that's kind of what I said. So anyways, I think that about covers it. I think, aside from those things, if you make those tweaks, I think, this could sound a lot better, at least from an engineering standpoint. So anyways, it was a pleasure reviewing this track. Please let me know if you have any specific questions about something that I said. You can reach out to me, Grant, at tlgacademy.com, or feel free to drop a comment in the comment section of this video. Thanks for choosing TLG Academy, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.